I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we are going to do a drive up here in about a mile or so. We're going to do a drive down Martin Luther King. It's called North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And anybody that follows crime knows how safe any street, building, park, anything, you name it, that's named after Martin Luther King Jr., anyone that follows crime knows how safe those roads are. So right now we're in the northern part of the city, which is where everything happens when it comes to crime. And like I said, we're about a mile we're on West Capitol Drive going east, and we're about a mile from where the MLK Boulevard is. But there was a ton of garbage, a whole bunch of people hanging out on the street. It's about 50 degrees out, so it's, you know, kind of warm. People are coming out after, you know, being cooped up all winter. And so I started filming a little before I was going to, but we can get a good look at what this northern section of Milwaukee looks like before we even get onto MLK Boulevard. And we're gonna basically, once we get on MLK, which will be just up here in 0.8 miles right now, once we get up here, we're gonna go through the Arlington Heights neighborhood, which when we get up here in a little bit, we'll probably be in. And the violent crime there is 769% higher than the national average. That's the worst one that we'll go through today. We'll also go through the Harambee neighborhood, where the violent crime there is 609% higher. And then we'll go down to the Halyard Park neighborhood, which is 394% higher than the national average, their violent crime. And then it finishes out in downtown in the Juneautown area, which is 197% higher than the national average for their violent crime. So as we'll start off in the worst part, and as you get closer to downtown, it starts getting safer. That homeless guy looks like they got an ambulance out for him. But I do have to note that I was here probably in 2022, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it was probably 2022. And when I drove here, I just drove through downtown that time because I was working in downtown and I just stayed down there. I didn't leave that area really. And at that time I had done a video on, I think there were 10 neighborhoods in Milwaukee at that time that had violent crime over 1,000% higher than the national average. Now Milwaukee since then has cleaned things up a bit and it's a lot safer, and that 794 is now of the higher ones. They don't have 10 like they had before that are going over the 1,000% higher mark. And I'm thinking this is it right here. Here we go. I think this is right where it starts. Yeah, it's Green Bay Drive, and then it turns into Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, it looks like. I thought it was Boulevard, but it looks like it's Drive. So this is where it starts. This is the northernmost point of it. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that when we turn, there's a ton of garbage on the side of the road. Tons of garbage. I mean, this hasn't been cleaned up in a long time, garbage. Now, granted, we're just coming off a winter, but there wasn't substantial amounts of snow up in this area. At least I don't think. So all that garbage could have been cleaned up if they wanted to throughout the, look, I mean, this is March, and there's no snow here at all. And a lot of graffiti, buildings that look like they've seen better days. But we're just going to stay on this. I think it runs about 5 miles. So this video should be, I don't know, not too long. But Milwaukee in general has a population of 550,000 people. And it's been declining since the 1960s. That was probably when they started shipping all the factory jobs out of the United States, and things here just took a turn for the worst. Because it's declining right now at like 1% a year, something ridiculously high like that. But it's not, I mean, this is all boarded up. Maybe they're working on some of this stuff. Doesn't look as bad as I thought. The part that we were, when I first came in to this area, is worse than this. This isn't too bad. So the population here is 36% black, 31% white, 22% Hispanic, and 6% Asian. So this is really diverse. I mean, you're looking at almost even splits between black, white, and Hispanic. The Asian population obviously is smaller because Asian people are typically smart enough to stay out of these bad areas. Excuse me. So the average income here is around $42,000 a year, which is actually pretty good for a city of this size. They got a 23% poverty rate. So nearly 1 in every 4 people that live here live below the poverty line. And the average age here is 32, which is a little kind of on the young side, but not too much. The violent crime here in general, not in just these neighborhoods that we're going through, but the violent crime in Milwaukee in general. Okay, so this is the Harambee neighborhood right now. The Harambee, the 609% worse neighborhood. But the violent crime here in the city as a whole is 295% higher than the national average. Like the city as a whole, including the bad areas and the good areas, it's still 295% worse than the national average. That's like St. Louis, Missouri levels. So Milwaukee, their assault rates here are 1,000, over 1,000 actually. That's like most of the years it's around 1,100. But we'll just say over 1,000. Victory Over Violence Park, that's the name of that park. That's right next to all that garbage and graffiti. But the assault rate is over 1,000 per 100,000 people. Most of the years it was like 1,100. And a city like Detroit is, I think, like 1,600. Chicago, because of the large population, is like 150 per 100,000 people. So it's not as bad as Detroit, but it's way worse than Chicago. You can see all these buildings on the left are all closed up. That one is, yeah. In 2024, they had 151 homicides. Yeah, a lot of this is, nothing's in a lot of these buildings. Yeah. They had 151 homicides in 2024, which gave them a murder rate of 27.4. So comparison on that, the murder rate in Chicago is yearly right around that 21 to 22 range. So the murder rate here is way worse than Chicago. And of the murders in 2024, 39% or 32%, what is, oh, carpet. It almost looked like a dead deer or something laying there. 32% were in that age range of 18 to 29 of the homicides they had. 83% were shootings, 82% were male, and 75% were black. And 42% of the homicides, there were charges filed. So less than half of the homicides had charges filed. So somebody wasn't arrested for 58% of them, which is actually, though, better than usual for Milwaukee, the 2024 numbers. So the population is 36% black here, yet 75% of the homicides were of people that were African American. And typically people are killing people of their own race, so you could make a educated guess that around 75%, if 75% of the victims were black, around 75% at least of the suspects were black. Your odds of becoming a victim of a crime here are 1 in 25. That's a typical number. It sounds really low, but it's really typical for a city like this. Oh, they got this big, huge speed bump here. And the year-over-year crime here is showing a 28% decrease. And I noticed that with their homicides, that the homicides are really going down. And I don't know if I mean, obviously last year in 2024, they had a 42% clearance rate with charges being filed on 42% of the homicides. And if you would have looked at it in like 22, it would have been in the 30% range. So the police are doing better, and the city is, at least the charges are being filed. Whether they're putting these people in jail or not, I have no idea. And I'd imagine at least they got a chunk of the people off the streets, because, yeah, this is all boarded up too. We're a ways down here now, and it's still all being boarded up. What does that say? Pfizer Forum? Are we already we're already getting to downtown. So, as far as the cost of living here, it's 2% low. The Wisconsin average is 2% lower than the national average. Or this city is 2% lower, yeah. It's 2% lower than the Wisconsin average to live here, 7% lower than the national average to live in Milwaukee, which is odd that one of the larger cities is, the cost of living is less than smaller places, but it is probably due to the crime. And housing, 24% lower than the national average. The sales tax, and this is Wisconsin stuff, sales tax is 2% lower. And the income tax is 36% higher. So your income tax here is considerably higher than the other taxes. As far as the schools go, you're not even going to believe this number, but only 18% of the students graduate proficient at reading and math. 18%. Less than 1 in every 5. Wisconsin is 41% overall throughout the state, which is horrible. And the U.S. average, if you watch my videos, you know the U.S. average is horrible as well. 48% of the students graduate at a 12th grade level for reading and math. That's it. Less than half of the people. We're almost to the end. We got just a few more blocks, a couple blocks left, and then we've covered the entire Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. And we made it through unscathed, which I did a video once a couple years ago about 10 ways to not become a victim of a homicide. And one was stay off any road named after Martin Luther King Jr. And so I just proved you can drive down it without getting shot. So 79% of the population here completed the 8th grade, and 78% have a high school diploma. Oh, I thought the two was going to just keep walking. So as far as education goes, they're not doing a very good job, and when you don't do a very good job on education, your crime is not going to get any better. it's going to just keep getting worse, because if only 1 in every 5 can do math and read at a 12th grade level, I mean, what jobs are they going to be able to get, these other 4 out of 5? What job are they going to be able to get that's going to be able to pay for them to live, you know, buy a house, be a productive member of society, when they can't read or do math at grade level? The last time this is the downtown now. So the last time I did the drive-through Milwaukee, it was all through this area. Because I was staying then at, I don't remember where I stayed. It was some hotel right by, like a block away from here, I think. Because I remember that event center. And I remember it wasn't far from that forum that the, whatever the name of that place that the Bucks play at. But there's actually more people down here, because the last time I was down here, I did the drive-through early in the morning, and there was literally no cars. It was at like 9 o'clock in the morning. There were no cars on the street at all. At all. And this, at least, there's people down here. Now, granted, that was a year after the lockdowns. That was a year after the lockdowns that I was here. And a couple years probably after that, but the city hadn't come back. But it looks like, I mean, this is 5 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. So I'm not saying that it came back good, because there's not that many cars down here for there to, you know, to be anything you would call rush hour by any means. But there's more cars than there was the last time I was here a couple years ago, when there literally at 9 a.m. there was nobody down here. The downtown is relatively clean and nice. I think I remember that last time, but if nobody's coming down here, that's not that bad. But still, the violent crime down in this area is, what did I say it was? 197% worse. It was almost 200% worse than the national average in the downtown area. So you have to get out. I know I did a video once on the baseball stadiums, the MLB stadiums, and the one here in Milwaukee, because it's so far out of town, was actually, I think it was either the safest or one of the safest ones that you could go to, because it was so far out of downtown that it wasn't getting any the bad stuff. It was west of, I think it was west of downtown, and it was relatively safe. We're gonna just drive up a little more, just see what else we see. But that was basically, that was of the worst parts in the city where I went through. There were a couple other neighborhoods that I could have gone through up there, but I kind of wanted to keep this drive just strictly to the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, because, I mean, its reputation precedes it. I don't know if I dare honk at this dude. I don't like honking, because you never know who's in the car and if that offends them and if you make them angry. But they were sitting there. There's still, I guess, a little bit of snow on the ground. Like I said, it's March. Only in the dark areas that look like they don't get any sun. There's a lot of kids in this area, not kids, but young adults in this area. There must be a college right there. Well, I don't know what college that even is. Alumni Memorial Park. Olin Engineering Center. Yeah, I don't know what school this is right here. That's just out of time. Out of downtown. Olin Engineering Center. And I missed the sign when we went past it. But we're just going to go up a little bit further and just check out a little bit of the city. I don't remember this part. I remember this stuff in downtown. That's why I started pulling out, because I already drove through there. And when I did that last video on Milwaukee, I kind of like circled that whole area and kind of covered the downtown pretty good. I don't know what school this is. Oh, Marquette. Marquette University. I didn't realize it was right in downtown like that. Marquette University. I've heard of that one at least. See, this is the college area, so this area looks okay. There's stuff in all these storefronts basically have things in them. There's probably enough people walking around, enough foot traffic that they can keep places in business. But all right, well, I'm going to let this play out for just a little bit longer till I miss a light, and then we'll leave it at that. I hope you like this drive through Milwaukee, through down Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard or Drive. And you can see how it got from worse to better just in 5 miles. It went from being like bad to being, well, good for Milwaukee standards, just in a 5-mile stretch. All right, I'm letting this play out. Thanks for watching.